Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics back with Pieceful Patchwork. I hope you're enjoying the series as much as we are. Dreaming up the blocks, choosing the fabrics, and being able to film the tutorial. This is probably one of the easiest ones we've done in the series. And for September, of course, we know the kiddos are going back to school. We have our Schoolhouse Block as well as that classic log cabin. I couldn't resist Lori Holt's Fabrics by Riley Blake. It just felt like it's very kind of country vintage. So let's dive into this. So let's focus on our log cabin block. It is a very traditionally pieced block where you kind of start in the center and you just keep going in a direction. That's very classic log cabin, and we certainly followed that convention here. Make sure if it's been a while since you've changed your rotary blade, just do that now and make some nice clean cuts. And we start off with our center unit. I couldn't resist choosing this fabric, again, by Riley Blake. It has words all about autumn, and I just thought that's perfect, right? September is the beginning of autumn in the Northern Hemisphere, and so I couldn't resist adding that element in as well. So as you look at the center, and we're always adding these pieces all the way around. This is a super beginner friendly block. So of course we have our pieces precisely cut. We have this right side together. I make sure I put my seam guide on my machine, so I'm really dialing in that 1/4 inch seam allowance, sewing a true, honest 1/4 inch seam allowance. Sew that and press to the outside, and this is what you'll have. And what's also really cool about log cabin blocks, you don't have to keep referring back to a pattern for pressing instructions. It's easy. You're always pressing away from the center. So let me show you that real quick. We always just press away. That's it the whole time. I think that's what makes log cabin blocks really so fun and easy to construct. That's very intuitive what to do next. So here, once again, right side together, pressing down and pressing away, I should say. And then you just continue adding your pieces, right? So, oh, looks like this one needs to be pressed. Let me just press that. And you can see that you just keep adding on as you add the different kind of logs, they call them, right? Right side together, press to the outside. That's us again. I'll just show you a full round. You can see it's very repetitive. And I think that's also something else I find really enjoyable about log cabin blocks. I know it's coming. Sometimes when I'm sewing a more complex block, I'm often having to refer back to the pattern. Once you have your pieces cut, it's so intuitive. It's so straightforward. So here, once again, right side together. Of course, you're pressing to the outside away from the center. And it just keeps you keep adding on, right? There you go. That's our first, if we were going to call it a round, that's the center portion. And of course, once you've done this, as long as you remember you're always going to move in a clockwise rotation, you know where to put the next piece on, which of course will be here to the outside, down, there, 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 and there, and your block is done. Of course, you're going to repeat that for 2 of those. So I will move that out of the way, and let's just keep chugging away real quick here at the Schoolhouse Block. It might seem like there's more going on, and there is, but it is still very, very straightforward and intuitive. And we're basically going to just build our schoolhouse from top to the bottom. We start off with, in our pattern, let me just turn to that page for you so you can follow along with me here. We zoomed right through our log cabin block, and now we're on to this portion here. A lot of sew and flip corners. We've been doing that all along in our series. And so in this is just kind of showing you sew and flip in general. And I'll touch on that as we go, where you just start with a rectangle, you put a square in the corner, draw the line, sew in the line, trim, and press to the outside. That's how we're forming that here. But I'm getting just a little bit ahead of myself. Let's start with this portion right here. You can see we have the B pieces and then the A pieces. So easy peasy, right? And you could, of course, fussy cut to a certain extent your B fabric so you have the words you want. You can turn them, like this one has the word cider. Why not have that right side up? I would do that. It would look, it's fine because maybe there's other words, but I like the word cider. So you might want to study your fabric. Place your squares in between, and you're simply sewing these together and pressing toward the brown. As a reminder, our patterns now, and I love that we've made this change. We've been almost 6 months now. Instead of writing the pressing direction, you're just going to look at the arrows. You can see here, notice how everything was pressing away from the center, and here you're pressing away, and here, in this instance, pressing toward the brown, which we've done. Let me move that out of the way. And our next piece is our long letter C. And once again, I can see it says crackling fire, harvest. I want those words right side up. So for sure, I'm going to be placing that piece on top of this. Let me move this out of the way here. We'll just kind of start building our house here, because I like seeing the words. People are going to want to read this, and I love that. Really, really fun. And that's another fun thing. If you're even making this with a friend, because of the cut of fabric you receive and they receive, it'll have different phrases. That's kind of fun. Your quilts will not be exactly identical because of the words. Okay, so you can see we sew that to the top and we press upward. But again, noting that the pressing is written here. So you don't have to write that down. You don't have to remember that. Just take note of the direction that we're pressing. So that's going to be kind of our chimneys of our house as we turn our page. Remember how I talked about the sew and flip? We start with our nice big rectangle. We have our letter A's. We're drawing that line. As we place them in our corners, let me just draw that line for you real quick so you can see the action and how we do this. Pretty straightforward. As you can see, we want to place this in this corner and pin in place. And I would pin again here, just so it's not getting wonky. And once again, here again, pin, pin, so directly on the line. And we've done that ahead of time. Done that magic sewing for you. And we're going to press toward the cream. So just like we've been doing in our previous sew and flip, there's a lot of that in this series. I like to go ahead, just because there have been a few times that I've kind of got a little bit wonky. That has been greatly reduced, by the way, because I pinned. There was a time where I'm like, I can hold that thing in position and just go sew it. Well, it got a little wonky, and guess what I was doing? I was seam ripping. But thank goodness I checked before I trimmed that things got a little wonky, so I was able to seam rip. You'll simply lift that flap up, trim away the 1/4 inch here, trim away that excess fabric. And if you like miniature quilts, maybe that can go in your stash. Trim, trim, of course you trim down here. And now you have the roof. We're moving right along. I wish real life construction projects were this fast. We all know they're not. Okay, we all know that a schoolhouse needs to have a door and we need some windows. By the way, speaking of the doors, these buttons here will make sure we're including those in your kit. We have an extra pack of the Richard Hemming size 4 needles that are small enough to slide through there. So if you don't already have some hand sewing needles, you might want to pick those up. But getting to our door here, this is what we're going for. And of course you can see, very simple to do. We do stickers. This isn't just for video. We do this in the sewing room because sometimes, especially with foundation paper piecing, a lot of times the sizes are very similar and it's easy to be confused. So we do these labels. Right side together, of course, both sewing your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Our pattern is letting us know to press toward the blue. And then we go ahead and add our letter H to the top there once that's sewn together, and that is pressing downward. So that's how we're going to be able to get into the schoolhouse through our door. But once you're in the schoolhouse, you want to be able to look outside. So we most definitely need to have that portion of the building with some windows. So as we look toward our pattern, we have our letter J's, we have our letter I's, and once again, we're simply laying pieces out, making sure everything fits. And we all know that if for any reason you laid this out and it didn't fit at this stage, what went wrong? The only thing that could go wrong is there's a cutting error. So that's why we like to lay everything out first. Is this correct? And then we sew all of that together. And we have some specific pressing instructions here where we're pressing to the blue each time. So that's what that looks like. Move that out of the way. And then we simply add to that unit our letter K above and L. Notice how they're slightly wider. This is a great example of how it would actually be quite easy because it fits, right? Now, the great news is if that happens, all you need to do is turn the block around. It's okay. But sometimes if this was a different type of different color fabric than that, it would present differently. So just be careful. Now you can see that we simply place these side by side. And because of our pressing being very intentional, notice how we have an interlocking seam with that seam going here, the seam going up. This is where you would pin first. Pin here and here, 1/4 inch seam allowance, and the pressing went toward this direction. And then it's just simply a matter of sewing all of that together, and you can see that that final seam here is pressing downward. And once again, you'll be making 2 of the schoolhouses, right? Such a cute, cute block. Just like we have been finishing the others, and we decided to make all of these the same size. Why is that? Because I know what that's like to find a special place where the project fits, and I don't want it to vary from month to month because it may be, if it's larger, now it doesn't fit. So all of these fit so beautifully on the act felt hanger. We still have those hangers available. But just like we've been doing before, once you make 2 of each block, in comes your sashing, your cornerstone, your inner border, your outer border. Then go ahead and get it quilted, whether you want to do that on your own or send that out. Go ahead and bind that. We, of course, waited till the very end to add that button so it's not interfering with any top quilting. So you could see this was a really fun one, very beginner friendly. And oh, for October, you do not want to miss out on that. And if you haven't already subscribed, and I bet most of you have, but maybe you're new to Shabby, we're so happy you're here. Be sure to subscribe, bring your friends along, and check out the website. We are adding new products every single day. Many of them are exclusive to Shabby, just like this project. So I look forward to seeing you next month as we continue our series.